handsome young man standing up there, Joshua Davis. He and his dad both have type 1 diabetes, which means they need insulin every single day. Insulin costs about $10 a vial to make. That's what it costs the pharmaceutical company. But drug companies charge families like Joshua and his dad up to 30 times that amount. I spoke with Joshua's mom. Imagine what it's like to look at your child who needs insulin to stay healthy and have no idea how in God's name you're going to be able to pay for it. What it does to your family, but what it does to your dignity, your ability to look your child in the eye, to be the parent you expect yourself to be. I really mean to think about that. That's what I think about. You know, yesterday, Joshua's here tonight, but yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy, by the way. For Joshua,
well, she was flipping through the State of the Union she was given.
and 200,000 other young people with type 1 diabetes. Let's cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month, so everyone can afford it. And drug companies will do very, very well. Their profit margin.
You know, that'll take it.
While we're at it, I know we have great disagreements on this floor with this. Let's let Medicare negotiate the price of prescription drugs. They already set the price for VA drugs. Look, the American Rescue Plan is helping millions of families with Affordable Care Act plans to save them $2,400 a year on their health premiums. Let's close the coverage gap and make these savings permanent. And second, let's cut energy costs for families, an average of $500 a year by combating climate change. Let's provide an investment tax credits to weatherize your home and your business, to be energy efficient and get a tax credit for it. Double America's clean energy production in solar, wind, and so much more. Lower the price of electric vehicles, saving another $80 a month that you're not going to have to pay at the pump. Folks, the third thing we can do to change the standard of living for hardworking folks is cut the cost of child care. Cut the cost of child care. Folks, if you live in a major city in America, you pay up to $14,000 a year for child care per child. I was a single dad for 5 years, raising 2 kids. I had a lot of help, though. I had a mom, a dad, a brother, and a sister that really helped. But middle class and working folks shouldn't have to pay more than 7% of their income to care for the young children. My plan would cut the cost of child care in half for most families and help parents, including millions of women who left the workforce during the pandemic because they couldn't afford child care, to be able to get back to work, generating economic growth. But my plan doesn't stop there. It also includes home and long-term care, more affordable housing, pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. All these will lower costs for families. And under my plan, nobody, let me say this again, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes. Not a single penny. I may be wrong, but my guess is if we took a secret ballot in this floor, that we'd all agree that the present tax system ain't fair. We have to fix it. I'm not looking to punish anybody, but let's make corporations and wealthy Americans start paying their fair share. Look, last year, like Chris Coons and Tom Carper and my distinguished Congresswoman, we come from the land of corporate America. There are more corporations incorporated in America than every other state in America combined. And I still won 36 years in a row. The point is, Even they understand they should pay just a fair share. Last year, 55 of the Fortune 500 companies earned $40 billion in profit and paid zero in federal taxes. Now look, it's not fair. That's why I proposed a 15% minimum tax rate for corporations. And that's why in the G7 and other meetings overseas, we're able to put together, I was able to be somewhat helpful, 130 countries to agree on a global minimum tax rate. So companies can't get out of paying their taxes at home by shipping jobs and factories overseas. It'll raise billions of dollars. That's why I propose closing loopholes for the very wealthy who pay a lower tax rate than a teacher and a firefighter. So that's my plan, but we'll go in more detail later. We will grow the economy, lower the cost of families.
This is one of those things where he's done it.
So
shut the
what are
door
we
behind
waiting
him.
for? Let's get this done. We all know we've got to make changes. Folks, and while you're at it, confirm my nominees for the Federal Reserve, which plays a critical role in fighting inflation. My plan will not only lower costs and give families a fair shot, it will lower the deficit. The previous administration not only ballooned the deficit with those tax cuts for the very wealthy and corporations, it undermined the watchdogs, the job of those to keep pandemic relief funds being wasted. Remember we had those debates about whether or not those watchdogs should be able to see every day how much money was being spent, where was it going to the right place? But in my administration, the watchdogs are back. And we're going to go after the criminals who stole billions of relief money meant for small business and millions of Americans. Tonight, I'm announcing that the Justice Department will soon name a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud. And look, I think we all agree, thank you. By the end of this year, the deficit will be down to less than half of what it was before I took office. The only president ever to cut the deficit by more than $1 trillion in a single year. Lowering your cost also meant demanding more competition. I'm a capitalist, but capitalism without competition is not capitalism. Capitalism without competition is exploitation. It drives up profits. And corporations have to compete. Their profits go up and your prices go up when they don't have to compete. Small businesses and family farmers and ranchers, I need not tell some of my Republican friends from those states. Guess what? You got 4 basic meat packing facilities. That's it. You play with them or you don't get to play at all. And you pay a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot more because there's only 4. See what's happening with ocean carriers and moving goods in and out of America. During the pandemic, about
That's
half a dozen
a new trick.
or less foreign-owned companies raised prices by as much as 1,000% and made record profits. Tonight, I'm announcing a crackdown on those companies overcharging American businesses and consumers. And folks,
What?
and as Wall Street firms take over more nursing homes, quality in those homes has gone down and costs have gone up.
What?
That ends on my watch. Medicare is going to set higher standards for nursing homes and make sure your loved ones get the care they deserve and that they inspect and they will look at closely. We're also going to cut costs to keep the economy going strong and giving workers a fair shot, provide more training and apprenticeships, hire them based on skills, not just their degrees. Let's pass the Paycheck Fairness Act and paid leave. Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And extend the child tax credit so no one has to raise a family in poverty. Let's increase Pell Grants, increase our historic support for HBCUs, and invest in what Jill, our First Lady who teaches full-time, calls America's best-kept secret, community colleges. Look, let's pass the PRO Act When the majority of workers want to form a union, they shouldn't be able to be stopped. When we invest in our workers and we build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out together, we can do something we haven't done in a long time: build a better America. For more than 2 years, COVID has impacted every decision in our lives and the life of this nation. And I know you're tired, frustrated, and exhausted. That doesn't even count the close to 1 million people who sit at a dining room table or a kitchen table and look at an empty chair because they lost somebody. But I also know this: because of the progress we've made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to more normal routines. We've reached a new moment in the fight against COVID-19, where severe cases are down to a level not seen since July of last year. Just a few days ago, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued a new mask guidelines. Under the new guidelines, most Americans and most of the country can now go mask-free. And based on projections, more of the country will reach a point across the next couple of weeks. And thanks to the progress we've made in the past year, COVID-19 no longer need control our lives. I know some are talking about living with COVID-19, but tonight I say that we never will just accept living with COVID-19. We'll continue to combat the virus as we do other diseases. And because this virus mutates and spreads, we have to stay on guard.
Like every
Here are
virus?
4 common sense steps as we move forward safely, in my view. First, stay protected with vaccines and treatments. We know how incredibly effective vaccines are.
No.
If you're vaccinated and boosted, you have the highest degree of protection.
No.
We'll never give up on vaccinating more Americans. Now, I know parents with kids under 5 are eager to see their vaccines authorized for their children. Scientists are working hard to get that done. We'll be ready with plenty of vaccines if and when they do. We're all ready. We are also ready with antiviral treatments. If you get COVID-19, the Pfizer pill reduces your chances of ending up in the hospital by 90%. I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world has. Pfizer is working overtime to get us 1 million pills this month and more than double that next month. And now we're launching the Test to Treat initiative. So people can get tested at a pharmacy, and if they prove positive, receive the antiviral pills on the spot at no cost.
But the tests don't test for COVID. They test for like the 2019 flu strain. Probably the 2020.
If you're immunocompromised or have some other vulnerability, we have treatments and free high-quality masks. We're leaving no one behind or ignoring anyone's needs as we move forward. On testing, we've made hundreds of millions of tests available, and you can order them for free to your doorstep. And we've already ordered free tests. If you already ordered free tests tonight, I'm announcing you can order another group of tests.
Order plenty of tests.
Go to covidtest.gov starting next week, and you can get more tests.
But
Second,
get more
we
tests.
must prepare for new variants. Over the past, we've gotten much better at detecting new variants.
fuck the test.
He's the paralyzed
If necessary,
Republican
we'll be
friend.
able to develop new vaccines within 100 days instead of maybe months or years. And if Congress provides
Why
the
they put the
funds we
camera on
need,
him,
we'll
I
have
don't know.
new stockpiles of tests, masks, pills ready if needed. I can't promise a new variant won't come, but I can promise you we'll do everything within our power to be ready if it does. Third, we can end the shutdown of schools and businesses. We have the tools we need. It's time for America to get back to work and fill our great downtowns again with people. People working from home can feel safe and begin to return to their offices. We're doing that here in the federal government. The vast majority of federal workers will once again work in person. Our schools are open. Let's keep it that way. Our kids need to be in school. With 75% of adult Americans fully vaccinated, and hospitalizations down by 77%, most Americans can remove their masks and stay in the classroom and move forward safely. We achieved this because we provided free vaccines, treatments, tests, and masks. Of course, continuing this costs money, so I'll not surprise you. I'll be back to see you all. And I'm going to soon send a request to Congress. The vast majority of Americans have used these tools and may want again. We may need them again, so I expect Congress, and I hope you'll pass that quickly. Fourth, we'll continue vaccinating the world. We've sent 475 million vaccine doses to 112 countries, more than any nation on earth. We won't stop.
We won't send them to India, though, because they want to do a proof check, but don't worry about that.
A vaccine, the vaccine can
Only cuts
stop
a couple billion
the
people
spread
out.
of these diseases. You know, we've lost so much in COVID-19, time with one another. The worst of all, the loss of life. Let's use this moment to reset. So stop looking at COVID as a partisan dividing line. See it for what it is, a god-awful disease.
Ugh.
Let's stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other for who we are, fellow Americans. Look.
Fuck it, they just decide to fucking do that to us.
We can't change how divided we've been. It was a long time in coming. But we can change how to move forward on COVID-19 and other issues that we must face together. I recently visited New York City Police Department days after the funerals of Officer Wilbur Mora and his partner, Officer Jason Rivera. They were responding to a 9/11 call when a man shot and killed them with a stolen gun. Officer Moore was 27 years old. Officer Rivera was 22 years old. Both Dominican Americans who grew up in the same streets that they later chose to patrol as police officers. I spoke with their families, and I told them that we were forever in debt for their sacrifices and will carry on their mission to restore the trust and safety of every community deserves. Like some of you that have been around for a while, I've worked with you on these issues for a long time. I know what works. Investigating crime prevention and community policing, cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. That's why the Justice Department has required body cameras, banned chokeholds, and restricted no-knock warrants for its officers. That's why the American Rescue Plan that you all provided $350 billion that cities, states, and counties can use to hire more police, invest in more proven strategies. Proven strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers, breaking the cycle of violence and trauma, and giving young people some hope. We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police. Fund them. Fund them. Fund them with resources and training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities. I ask Democrats and Republicans alike to pass my budget and keep our neighborhoods safe. And we'll do everything in my power to crack down on gun trafficking of ghost guns that you can buy online, assemble at home, no serial numbers, can't be traced. I ask Congress to pass proven measures to reduce gun violence, pass universal background checks. Why should anyone on the terrorist list be able to purchase a weapon? Why? Why? And folks, ban assault weapons with high-capacity magazines that hold up to 100 rounds.
Oh.
You think the deer wearing Kevlar
Dude, that's the
vests.
magazine's fault.
Look, repeal the liability shield that makes gun manufacturers the only industry in America that can't be sued.
TJ,
The only one.
what the fuck are you
Imagine
talking
having
about,
done that
nigger?
with the tobacco manufacturers. These laws don't infringe on the Second Amendment. They save lives.
No, they don't. They
The most
infringe on the Second
fundamental
Amendment.
right in America is the right to vote and have it counted. And look, it's under assault. In state after state, new laws have been passed. Not only to suppress the vote, we've been there before, but to subvert the entire election. We can't let this happen. Tonight I call on the Senate to pass the Freedom to Vote Act, pass the John Lewis Act, Voting Rights Act. And while you're at it, pass the Disclose Act so Americans know who's funding our election. Look, tonight, I'd like to honor someone who dedicated his life to serve this country. Justice Breyer, an Army veteran, constitutional scholar, retiring Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Justice Breyer, thank you for your service. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean it. Get up, stand, let them see you. Thank you.
Sorry, did he just announce
And we all know,
retirement of him?
no matter what your ideology, we all know
Like-
one of the most serious constitutional responsibility a president has is nominating someone to serve on the United States Supreme Court. As I did 4 days ago,
You suppose he
nominated
saw what
Circuit
happened to
Court of
Ruth Bader
Appeals.
Ginsburg and was like, you know what?
Ketanji
Fuck
Brown
this, I'm out.
Jackson, one of our
I'm
nation's
gonna go
top
on the
legal
beach like I
minds,
always wanted to, and I'm gonna die in this shit.
who continue in Justice Breyer's legacy of excellence.
They did kind of announce it before he did,
Former
so
top
it was just
litigator in private
interesting.
practice,
Whatever.
a former federal public defender, from a family of public school educators and police officers. She's a consensus builder. Since she's been nominated, she's received a broad range of support, including the Fraternal Order of Police and former judges supported by Democrats and Republicans. Folks, if we're to advance liberty and justice, we need to secure our border and fix the immigration system.
7:57. He's leaving the house, so he's not going home.
And as you might guess, I think we can do both. At our border, we've installed new technology like cutting-edge scanners to better detect drug smuggling. We've set up joint patrols with Mexico and Guatemala to catch more human traffickers. We're putting in place dedicated immigration judges in a significant larger number so families fleeing persecution and violence can have their cases heard faster, and those who don't legitimately hear can be sent back. We're screening, we're securing commitments and supporting partners in South and Central America to host more refugees and secure their own borders. We can do all this while keeping lit the torch of liberty that has led a generation of immigrants to this land, my forebears and many of yours. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those with temporary status, farm workers, essential workers. Revise our laws so businesses have workers they need and families don't wait decades to reunite. It's not only the right thing to do, it's economically smart thing to do. That's why the immigration reform is supported by everyone from labor unions to religious leaders to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Let's get it done once and for all. Folks, advancing liberty and justice also requires protecting the rights of women. The constitutional right affirmed by Roe v. Wade, standing precedent for half a century, is under attack as never before. If you want to go forward, not backwards, we must protect access to health care, preserve a woman's right to choose, and continue to advance maternal health care for all Americans. And folks, for our LGBTQ plus Americans, let's finally get the Bipartisan Equality Act to my desk. The onslaught of state laws targeting transgender Americans and their families, it's simply wrong. I said last year, especially to our younger transgender Americans, I'll always have your back as your president so you can be yourself and reach your God-given potential.
Yes, Queen.
As I've just demonstrated, while it often appears we do not agree, and that we do agree on a lot more things than we acknowledge. I signed 80 bipartisan bills into law last year, from preventing government shutdowns, to protecting Asian Americans from still too common hate crimes, to reforming military justice, and will soon be strengthening the Violence Against Women Act that I first wrote 3 decades ago. It's important. It's important for us to show the nation.
They define violence
Come
against
together
women
and
in
do
the
big
UFC
things.
Eat the shit out of those dumb
Tonight I'm
bitches.
offering a unity agenda for the nation. 4 big
But
things
not
we
the
can do
hot
together, in
Ukrainian
my
ones,
view.
of course.
First, beat the opioid epidemic. There's so much we can do.
Pulled out of Afghanistan, we no
Increase
longer have
funding
the
for
supply to
prevention,
cure the
treatment,
opioid
harm
epidemic.
reduction and
So,
recovery. Get rid of outdated rules and stop doctors that stop doctors from prescribing treatments. Stop the flow of illicit drugs by working with state and local law enforcement to go after the traffickers. And if you're suffering from addiction, you should know you're not alone. I believe in recovery, and I celebrate the 23 million Americans
one of which
in
is
recovery.
his son.
Second, let's take on mental health, especially among our children whose lives and education have been turned upside down. The American Rescue Plan gave schools money to hire teachers and help students make up for lost learning. I urge every parent to make sure your school does just that. They have the money. We can all play a part. Sign up to be a tutor or a mentor. Children were also struggling before the pandemic: bullying, violence, trauma, and the harms of social media. As Frances Haugen, who is here tonight with us, has shown, we must hold social media platforms accountable for the national experiment they're conducting on our children for profit.
Holy fuck.
Folks, thank you. Thank you for the courage you showed.
Is this,
It's time to strengthen privacy protections, ban targeted advertising to children, demand tech companies stop collecting personal data on our children, and let's get all Americans the mental health services they need. More people can turn for help, and full parity between physical and mental health care if we treat it that way in our insurance.
I'm just stunned.
Look,
I'm absolutely, I'm actually in shock.
the third piece
His
of
comments
that
about social
agenda
media.
is support our veterans.
Be a glancing blow. I don't think
The
Veterans
particular
are the
whistleblower
backbone
he called out
and the
was hard to
spine
say.
of this country.
it's just a
They're
fake.
the best of us. I've always
He doesn't
believed
he doesn't have to address
that
it.
we have a sacred obligation to equip those we send to war.
Why did he
and care
just,
for those
why
in
did
their
he just
families when they
validate
come
me?
home. My
Is
administration
it the concern
providing
of like
assistance
a
in
bunch
job
of
training,
Americans, not
housing,
just me and you,
and now
just
helping
people like us?
lower-income veterans get VA care
We were told
debt-free.
by his party
And our
that
troops
they're a
in
private
Iraq,
business and they're
the first
allowed
in
to
Afghanistan, face many
ban
dangers.
Donald Trump.
One being stationed at bases breathing
And if we
in
don't like the
toxic
private
smoke
businesses'
from burn
practices, we
pits.
should.
Many of you have been there. I've been in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan
He
over
just
40 times.
Said that
These burn pits that incinerate waste, the waste of war, medical and hazards
he
material.
just said
jet
social media
fuel, and so
companies
much
are
more.
conducting a
come
psychological
home,
experiment on children.
Many of the world's fittest and best trained
said that word
warriors
for
in
word.
the world. Never the same. Headaches, numbness, dizziness. A cancer.
I guess we wouldn't have seen it because we weren't targeted, and they're very good at targeting, so.
I know.
No, they reported this in 2014 and they bragged.
One of those
About-
soldiers
Yeah,
was my
this is
son,
his-
Major Bo Biden. I don't know for sure if the burn pit that he lived near, that his hooch was near, in Iraq and earlier than that in Kosovo, is the cause of his brain cancer, the disease of so many other troops. but I am committed to find out everything we can.
Holy fuck.
Committed to military families like Danielle Robinson from Ohio, the widow of Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson. He was born a soldier, Army National Guard, combat medic in Kosovo and Iraq, stationed near Baghdad, just yards from burn pits the size of football fields. Danielle is here with us tonight. They loved going to Ohio State football games.
I don't believe it. I can't believe he's addressing these topics.
This is weird. This is getting weird, man.
The U.S. government denies liability.
And he loved building Legos with their daughter.
I mean, he called out his other son.
Cancer
actually.
from
Why?
prolonged exposure to burn pits ravaged Heath's lungs and body.
Burn pit.
Danielle says Heath was a fighter to the very end. He didn't know how to stop fighting, and neither did she. Through her pain, she found purpose to demand that we do better.
What is he
Tonight,
talking
Danielle,
about?
We are going to do better.
Burn pits.
The VA,
Who's burn pits?
the VA is pirating
War
new
zone
ways
burn
of
pits.
linking toxic exposure to disease.
The U.S. military's burn
already
pits.
helping more
I
veterans
guess.
get benefits.
The
He's
commander
not-
of the U.S. military
I'm
just
announcing we're
said that
expanding
U.S.
eligibility
military
of
burn
veterans
pits
suffering from
caused the death
non-respiratory cancer.
of a soldier.
I'm also calling on Congress to pass a law to
He's
make
certainly
sure
not
veterans
talking about the
devastated
burn
by
pits in
toxic
like third world
exposure
fucking
in Iraq
countries
and
along like the
Afghanistan
Indian and
finally
like
get the
Oman
benefits and the
territories
comprehensive
that
health care they deserve.
essentially like burning down our shit that we send to them for fucking compete for recycling.
He just admitted that the military that he's in control of, is responsible for knowingly
And
killing
fourth
its own
and last,
soldiers and putting them in harm's way.
Let's end
Yes.
cancer as we know it. This is personal.
And he's still on the end cancer thing. I suppose we really need to figure that one out. Hopefully our funding is going to the right
He's-
spots. Like,
Leaking information right now that he shouldn't,
This is personal to me and to
because he
Jill and
can't
to Kamala
distinguish.
and so many of you. So many of you have lost someone you love. Husband, wife, son,
He's
daughter,
not- he
mother.
has-
you can see Pelosi right now. She knows
Cancer is
he's
the number
he's
2
off
cause of death in America,
script.
second only to heart disease.
Yes, he
Last
is.
month,
He was. You
I
can tell when he
announced the
is
plan to
because he doesn't
supercharge
have
the
one in
cancer
front of him.
moonshot that President Obama
He's
asked
the
me to
fucking
lead 6
president.
years ago.
If he feels he needs to
Our goal
compensate
is
us,
to cut cancer
he would
death
do it.
rates by at
He
least
would not announce
50%
it.
over the next
He just
25
compromised the
years. I think
security
we
of
can
this
do better
nation.
than
Yeah,
that.
but is it possible to forget you're
Turn
reading a
cancers
teleprompter
from
if
death
you're at a
sentences
certain
into
age
treatable diseases.
and just start going off of
More
what you
support
just
for
said? Like you
patients
have
and
a
their
thought
families.
and you
He's
go
not
with it.
reading a teleprompter.
To get there,
There's
I call
two
on
of them.
Congress
He's looking
to
left
fund
and right because that's
what
where
I
they
call
are.
Are you
ARPA-H.
specifically, are you guys talking that he went
Advanced-
off script? He was talking
Advanced
about the
research
benefits?
projects,
It's 8:07, so it's
Agency
been an
for
hour.
Health. Pat
Is that what
after
you guys are
DARPA,
saying?
the Defense
Well, how
Department.
did he? How
You can
did?
tell when
What's
he
going on?
does.
That I didn't.
DARPA
Are
to
you
the
saying
internet.
that when you
Yes.
said that he
What-
did
how did
the
that start?
American-
Forces more
He has somebody
safer
he was
and be
talking
able to
about the
wage
burn
war
pits that
more
were hurting
for
soldiers
clarity.
and giving them
ARPA will
cancer.
have
It's
a
possible
single
it gave
purpose.
his son.
Yes,
His,
son.
one
Why?
of his sons
Why
was
is he
kidneys.
saying this?
And then he had
Alzheimer's and
somebody
diabetes
in the audience,
and
a
more.
wife of a general that
unity
had
agenda
died.
for the nation.
Which had to be
Cancer.
partially
We can
on
do
I
script.
know.
Yeah.
I am not arguing that
It's within
this
our
did not happen.
power,
I'm
and I don't see
asking
a
why is he
partisan
admitting
edge
it?
to any one of those
I
four
don't know.
things.
He's admitting it
My
to the
fellow
point that he
Americans,
has victims in the
Tonight,
He's the fucking commander of the U.S. military.
we've gathered
He
in
could.
this
He's
sacred
the only
space,
one who can do anything.
a citadel of democracy.
He doesn't have to publicly
in
announce
this
it.
capital.
By publicly announcing it,
Generation after
he's
generation of
compromised the
Americans have
security
debated great
of
questions
our nation.
amid great
The commander of the military just
have
admitted
done great
the military is
things.
doing things that
fought
is
for
killing
freedom.
its own military.
Expanded liberty, debated totalitarianism.
He just
and
delegitimized
terror.
himself.
We built the strongest, freest, and most prosperous nation the world has ever known. Now is the hour, our moment of responsibility, our test of resolve and conscience,
Uh-oh.
of history itself. It is in this moment that our character of this generation is formed. Our purpose is found. Our future is forged. Well, I know this nation.
Did Adam Schiff gain weight?
We'll meet the test. Protect freedom and
did.
liberty. Expand fairness and opportunity. And we will save democracy. As hard as those times have been, I'm more optimistic about America today than I've been my whole life because I see the future that's within our grasp. because I know there's simply nothing beyond our capacity. We're the only nation on earth that has always turned every crisis we've faced into an opportunity.
Oh,
The only
God.
nation
Did
that
you
can be
just say that?
defined by a single word, possibilities. So on this night, on our 245th year as a nation, I've come to report on the state of the nation, the State of the Union. And my report is this: the State of the Union is strong because you, the American people, are strong. We are stronger today. We are stronger today than we were a year ago. And we'll be stronger a year from now than we are today. This is our moment to meet and overcome the challenges of our time. And we will, as one people, one America, the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Go get him.
All right. Go get who?
President Biden thanking House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, shaking hands with her and with Vice President Kamala Harris after a 1 hour and 2 minute State of the Union address, starting out on Ukraine, rallying Americans to support the Ukrainian people who are right now struggling to survive against a Russian onslaught. The president moving on after 15, 20 minutes of talking about Ukraine, moving on to talk about the challenges of his administration. Domestic, health care, voting rights, the strength of the country, and then as you hear in the last few moments of the speech, coming back to democracy and calling on the nation to come together. Saying this is our moment of responsibility, our test of resolve and conscience, of history itself. He said it is in this moment that our character is formed, a character of this generation, our purpose is found, our future is forged. The president making a point to appeal to unity at a time when the country is so clearly divided.
About like 80% of what he said completely did not matter.
Leave the House chamber, greeting House members, Senate members, Pramila Jayapal, who leads the Progressive Caucus in the House.
I mean, he made it through over an hour.
Members of the,
He didn't die.
Of the Senate.
You did it.
Democrats cheering more.
Didn't seem that bad. I actually got a second wind.
When we saw
Good
Yeah.
second wind there.
across both sides of the House chamber cheering. We have correspondence.
He activated his star power at the right time.
Biden leave. We also have our analyst, Jonathan Capehart, with
Kept him in there, dude.
Peter Wayner, who writes
Finish strong with a special.
magazine.
Yeah,
Jonathan Capehart, I
it's just
wanna
about
tell
to
you,
peter out.
I was struck
Yep.
that the president
Fucking press that Y button.
used Ukraine in the beginning to bring the country together, and then as he wrapped up the speech, again appealed for unity, appealed to Americans to work across.
I would say a lot of his
And you know, the word that connects both to the beginning and the end is
a fair enough
democracy.
portion
The
of
focus on
his
Ukraine was the
words that he
focus
had to
on,
like say a second time were
people who
longer
democratically
multi-syllable
elected
words.
government that is now under siege by a country run by a dictator. The fact that the
Overall, I
president spent the
am
first 12
around
minutes, I was keeping tabs. First 12 minutes of his speech
pounder and a
talking about
half.
Ukraine, lauding the spirit
48,
and
so
the courage of the Ukrainian people, while at the same time earning bipartisan standing ovations from Democrats and Republicans for the words he was saying, the support he was giving to the Ukrainian people. And then
the
at end of
coronavirus
the
portion was
speech,
absolutely hilarious,
throughout the campaign,
especially
for
considering
one time,
the shit that they've actually had to release that they were trying to hold on to for like 70 something fucking, just basically put it like way out of reach so it would no longer matter.
Passionate, fiery is when he is talking about
What are you talking about?
the American
What?
people and American
What are you talking
democracy
about?
and what we
His
can- what
COVID
we
portion.
can do and what we can achieve
Some of the
when
stuff
we
that he
are
was
united
was,
as a
was
people.
saying was
And so when you look at
essentially almost in
bookends of
direct
the speech,
contradiction
what we heard
to what
is the
Pfizer and
president
Moderna have had to put
is
out
committed
about like
in
COVID
his
side effects and all
bones
that.
to democracy
I
at
think there was
home
something I
and
mentioned
abroad.
when he was talking about delivering the vaccine and stuff to the world. And
about
right now they won't
President
really.
Bush's speech
I think it's
in many ways.
Moderna that
I
won't
just want to say we're
give it to
watching
India
President
because
Biden
they want to
linger, I
do
think, perhaps
like a
longer than
proof
other
of
presidents
a
have
function study.
leaving the chamber. This is someone who spent 36 years in the United States.
I mean, Indian scientists
Senate.
are actually
He
pretty good,
paid tribute to Justice
but they
Stephen
would find
Breyer,
out
who you
that
can
no,
see,
it's
standing there
not
to
useful.
speak with him before he leaves the chamber. This is someone who is familiar with this body, with the Senate, with the House, having served in the Senate. But I think you see the warmth of the friendship between the president and Justice Breyer, who himself worked in the United States Senate. He was a legal advisor to the late Senator